Have you ever noticed how much lighter life feels when you stop trying to manage every possible outcome? The moment you loosen your grip on uncertainty and release the endless cycle of what-if thinking, something remarkable begins to happen. Life starts to breathe again. Worry often disguises itself as preparation, but in reality, it traps us inside imagined futures. It drains our energy, steals our peace, and distracts us from the strength that already exists within us. Yet when we stop fighting every twist and turn of life and begin trusting the process, a new sense of ease emerges. Opportunities appear, clarity returns, and life seems to unfold more naturally, not because we forced it to, but because we stopped standing in its way. In this video, we'll explore 7 enduring Buddhist insights that can help you release unnecessary worry, quiet the mind, and reconnect with a deeper sense of inner peace. 1. What you nourish within begins to shape your reality according to Buddhist teachings. The quality of your inner world influences how you experience the outer one. Fear is not merely a feeling, it becomes a filter through which you interpret life. When fear dominates your thoughts, it can alter the way you see situations, people, and possibilities. One of fear's greatest tricks is convincing you that something negative is already happening before it actually does. Consider someone who constantly worries about losing their job. That worry may cause them to doubt themselves, become hesitant, and lose confidence in their abilities. Over time, those reactions can create the very problems they were trying to avoid. The same pattern can emerge in relationships. Fear of rejection may lead to insecurity, overthinking, or emotional dependence. Those behaviors can strain connections and create distance where none existed before. The challenge is not that life is working against you. Often, it is your own fearful thoughts shaping your responses and influencing your experiences. Buddhism often compares the mind to fertile ground. Whatever seeds are planted there, whether confidence or fear, gratitude or resentment, are given the opportunity to grow. The mind does not choose for you. You do. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending difficulties don't exist. It means becoming aware of where your attention is going. When fearful thoughts arise, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself whether that thought is helping you move toward calm and clarity or pulling you deeper into distress. You have more influence over your inner world than you may realize, and as your inner environment changes, the way you experience life begins to change as well. When fear loses its hold, space opens for greater peace, confidence, and possibility. Lesson 2. The power of releasing control. Modern culture often teaches us that success comes from controlling everything: our schedules, our goals, our relationships, and every outcome we care about. We're encouraged to push harder, work longer, and hold on tighter. Buddhist wisdom offers a different perspective. True strength is not found in constant control. It is found in knowing when to release it. Surrender is frequently misunderstood. It is not defeat, passivity, or giving up. Instead, it is the willingness to do your best, while accepting that not everything is within your power to manage. Imagine trying to hold sand in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when your hand relaxes, far more remains. Life often works the same way. Healthy surrender means acting with intention, while trusting the natural unfolding of events. It is the quiet belief that you have done what you can, and now it is time to allow life to respond. When we stop exhausting ourselves by forcing outcomes, we regain energy and perspective. Our minds become less crowded with worry. We begin noticing opportunities that stress once hid from us. Unexpected support appears. New possibilities emerge. Rather than constantly battling against the flow of life, we learn to move with it. In Buddhist teaching, surrender is not the end of personal power. It is often the doorway to discovering a deeper kind of power, one rooted in trust, wisdom, and inner freedom. Lesson 3. Peace lives in the present moment. One of the most profound truths found in Buddhist philosophy is that anxiety depends on the future. It feeds on possibilities, predictions, and imagined outcomes. It survives by convincing us to live in events that have not happened. Whenever anxiety appears, pay attention to where your mind has gone. Chances are it has traveled ahead of you, creating stories about tomorrow and worrying about situations that may never occur. The problem is that while your attention is trapped in the future, you lose contact with the only place where life is actually happening. Right now. This moment. This breath. This experience. Right here, in the present, you are alive. You are breathing. You are standing on solid ground. In this moment, you are enough. Buddhism calls us back to the present through mindfulness, the simple practice of returning our awareness to what is happening right now. Every time we bring our attention back to the present, we weaken the hold that anxiety has over us. In the present moment, there is no imagined catastrophe to fight. There is only this unfolding second, this breath, this opportunity to be fully here. The mind may continue producing noise, predictions, and fears, but beneath all of that, the present moment remains steady and available. And the more often you return to it, the more you begin to understand that peace is not something waiting for you somewhere in the future. It has been within you all along, hidden beneath layers of mental noise, waiting for you to reconnect with it. Lesson 4. Most of our fear exists only in the mind. One of the most liberating insights in Buddhist philosophy is the realization that many of the things we fear never actually happen. Think about how much energy gets consumed by worrying about possibilities. We create scenarios in our minds, prepare for disasters that never arrive, and carry emotional burdens that reality never asks us to carry. Long before anything happens, we have already exhausted ourselves fighting imaginary battles. The mind is incredibly creative. Unfortunately, when fear takes control, that creativity often gets directed toward worst-case scenarios. It starts producing endless stories about failure, rejection, disappointment, and loss. Before long, those imagined events feel as real as the present moment. But pause for a second and reflect on your own life. How many situations have you spent days worrying about only to discover they weren't nearly as bad as you expected? How many sleepless nights were spent fearing outcomes that never materialized? More often than not, our predictions are far harsher than reality itself. This is why worry can be so deceptive. It magnifies distant possibilities until they appear immediate and unavoidable. It convinces us to respond to imagined dangers as though they already exist. Buddhist teachings encourage us to question these mental stories. A thought appearing in your mind does not automatically make it true. Not every fear deserves your attention. Not every scenario deserves your belief. The next time anxiety begins pulling you into a spiral, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, is this something happening right now? Or is it a story my mind is creating? That simple question can bring you back to reality. Freedom grows when you learn to separate facts from fearful imagination. When you return to what is actually happening in this moment, life often feels far less threatening and far more manageable than your mind led you to believe. Lesson 5. Trust cannot grow where control dominates. One of the hardest lessons to accept is also one of the most freeing. You cannot fully trust life while trying to control every detail of it. Control and trust pull in opposite directions. The tighter you cling to certainty, the more difficult it becomes to believe that things can unfold without your constant management. Many people spend their lives trying to orchestrate every outcome. They want guarantees, predictability, and complete certainty before they move forward. But underneath that desire often lies the fear that if they loosen their grip, everything will collapse. Yet, ask yourself honestly, has trying to control everything ever brought lasting peace? More often, it creates exhaustion. The constant need to manage every possibility keeps the mind on high alert. It generates stress, tension, and disappointment whenever life refuses to follow the script we've written for it. Trust offers another path. Trust does not mean doing nothing. It means taking meaningful action while releasing the need to dictate every result. It means showing up fully, giving your best effort, and allowing life to unfold beyond your expectations. This principle appears often in Buddhist teachings. We are encouraged to focus on our actions rather than becoming attached to specific outcomes. Imagine planting a tree. You prepare the soil, provide water, and give it sunlight. But you cannot force it to grow overnight. Growth happens beneath the surface long before you can see it. Life often works the same way. There are processes taking place that you cannot yet understand. There are opportunities forming beyond your current view. There are lessons unfolding according to their own timing. The question is, are you gripping so tightly that you've forgotten how to trust? Sometimes peace arrives the moment you stop demanding certainty and start embracing possibility. Lesson 6. Growth begins the moment you release what holds you back. Worry rarely announces itself as a problem. It often disguises itself as responsibility, caution, or preparation. At first, it seems harmless. You become a little more careful, a little more hesitant, a little more concerned about what could go wrong. But over time, those small habits can quietly shrink your life. You begin lowering your ambitions because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. You hesitate to speak up because you're afraid of criticism. You avoid opportunities because failure seems too risky. Little by little, fear starts building invisible walls around your potential. The truth is that worry doesn't expand your life, it limits it. It convinces you to play smaller than you're capable of playing. Buddhist wisdom teaches that growth requires release. You cannot move forward while carrying every fear, every doubt, and every imagined disaster on your shoulders. There comes a point where you must decide what deserves your energy and what must be let go. Focus on what belongs to you, your mindset, your actions, your integrity, and your choices. Release the rest. Imagine floating in a river. The harder you fight the current, the more exhausted you become. But when you stop struggling and allow yourself to move with the flow, the water begins carrying you naturally. That is the power of letting go. It creates space. Space for courage. Space for new possibilities. Space for creativity, confidence, and joy. Life is not happening in tomorrow's worries. It is happening right here, right now. And every moment spent trapped in fear is a moment taken away from the life that is unfolding before you. Ask yourself, how much of your energy is being spent on things you cannot control, and what might become possible if you finally chose to release them? Cannot control. Now imagine redirecting that energy toward growth, meaningful relationships, creativity, and trust. Something remarkable happens when you stop demanding that life follow your exact script and begin working with its natural rhythm instead. You start to feel supported rather than burdened. You begin to recognize that there is wisdom in the unfolding process itself. Releasing your grip is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of courage. It takes strength to stop living in fear and start living with openness. It takes bravery to trust that you do not have to carry every burden alone. Take a deep breath. Notice how much lighter you feel when you stop holding on so tightly. The journey toward freedom begins the moment you decide that not everything needs to be controlled. Lesson 7. Life flows more easily when you stop standing in its way. One of the deepest insights found in Buddhist wisdom is that many of our struggles come from resistance. We constantly attempt to control circumstances, people, timing, and outcomes, believing that more control will create more security. Yet often the opposite is true. The harder we push, the more tension we create. The tighter we cling, the more exhausted we become. And the more we try to force life into our preferred shape, the more disconnected we feel from its natural flow. For many people, this idea feels uncomfortable because we have been taught that success requires constant intervention. We are told that if we are not managing every detail, everything could fall apart. So we overthink. We replay conversations. We anticipate problems that have not happened. We try to speed up outcomes that are not ready. We carry the weight of responsibilities that were never ours to carry. Eventually, this constant effort drains us. It clouds our judgment and leaves us feeling trapped by the very control we thought would protect us. Buddhist teachings point toward another approach. Instead of fighting every current, learn to trust the river. Life possesses an intelligence of its own. Just as nature knows how to guide a stream toward the ocean, many situations in life unfold more effectively when we stop obstructing them with fear, impatience, and excessive control. Think about experiences from your own life. How often have you tried to force a relationship, a career move, or a particular outcome, only to watch things become more complicated? And how often have unexpected opportunities appeared when you finally relaxed, stopped chasing, and allowed events to unfold naturally? There is wisdom in those moments. Worry, fear, and constant interference are like barriers placed in flowing water. They disrupt movement and create turbulence. When those barriers are removed, the water naturally finds its path again. The same principle applies to your life. Trying to control every outcome rarely creates peace. More often, it transforms possibility into pressure and turns growth into struggle. When you loosen your grip, new possibilities can emerge, possibilities you may never have discovered if you had insisted on controlling every detail. So, how do you practice this? Start by becoming aware of where you are forcing things. Maybe you're checking your phone repeatedly, hoping for a message. Maybe you're replaying the same decision over and over, searching for absolute certainty. Maybe you're pushing a situation to move faster than it's meant to. Pause and ask yourself, what if I focused on what I can do and released what I cannot control? This is not indifference, it is wisdom. You still take action. You still care deeply. But you stop carrying responsibility for every outcome. Think of planting a seed. You provide water, sunlight, and care. But no amount of pulling on the stem will make it grow faster. Growth happens according to its own timing. Life follows a similar pattern. There are seasons of preparation, seasons of waiting, and seasons of expansion. Trying to rush the process often creates more harm than progress. Imagine holding a butterfly. If you squeeze tightly because you're afraid it might leave, you risk harming the very thing you're trying to keep. But if you hold your hand open, you create the possibility for connection without possession. Your goals, your relationships, and your inner peace all require that same openness. When you stop trying to own every outcome, those areas of your life gain room to develop naturally. And then something shifts. You begin noticing that life is not working against you. New opportunities appear. Helpful people enter your path. Solutions reveal themselves at the right time. The burden you've been carrying starts to feel lighter. Your mind becomes calmer. Your breathing slows. Your heart opens. you begin to understand that many things you tried so desperately to control never required control in the first place. At the root of excessive control is often fear of failure, rejection, uncertainty, or not being enough. But life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to trust. Trust that not everything must be figured out today. Trust that growth is happening even when you cannot see it. Trust that your path is unfolding one step at a time. You do not have to direct every scene of your life. Sometimes your greatest task is simply to show up, do your best, and allow the next chapter to reveal itself. So take a moment, reflect on one area of your life where you have been holding on too tightly. Where are you forcing? Where are you resisting? Where are you carrying weight that no longer belongs to you? Now imagine what could happen if you release that burden. Imagine how much energy would return to you. Imagine how much peace could enter your life, because sometimes the greatest transformation does not come from doing more. It comes from trusting more. And often, the life you've been searching for begins to appear the moment you finally step aside and allow it to unfold. That you've been squeezing too tightly with worry and fear. Ask yourself honestly, what would happen if you stopped trying to control every outcome and chose trust instead? Not because you've given up, not because you don't care, but because you finally realize that constant struggle is not the same thing as wisdom. The moment you loosen your grip, something shifts. Life gains room to breathe. Possibilities emerge where obstacles once seemed permanent. Doors begin opening in ways your careful planning could never have predicted. This is often where life's most meaningful moments appear. Unexpected opportunities. Perfectly timed encounters. Solutions arriving when you least expect them. Call it coincidence, synchronicity, grace, or simply the natural unfolding of life, whatever name you give it. These moments tend to arrive when fear stops occupying every corner of your mind. Buddhist wisdom teaches that our purpose is not to dominate life, but to cooperate with it. Life is not a problem to solve. It is an experience to live. You cannot command the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to move with them. Everything we've explored throughout these lessons points toward this simple truth. What you cling to becomes restricted. What you release becomes free. And what you stop trying to force often develops in ways far beyond your expectations. You do not need every answer today. You do not need to predict every twist in the road ahead. You only need the willingness to take the next step. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to set down one burden. Trust one unanswered question. Release one fear you've been carrying for too long. And watch what becomes possible when you stop trying to push life forward and start allowing it to unfold. Because there is a remarkable paradox at the heart of growth. When you stop demanding, you become more open to receiving. When you stop forcing, you become more available to possibility. And when you stop fighting life, life often begins supporting you in ways you never imagined. #Conclusion. Life was never meant to be a constant struggle for control. It is more like music than machinery, a rhythm to move with, not a system to dominate. The harder we cling to certainty, the more disconnected we become from the beauty that exists in uncertainty. Yet when we learn to trust, even a little, we discover a deeper sense of peace. The teachings we've explored do not ask you to stop caring about your life. They do not ask you to abandon your goals or responsibilities. Instead, they invite you to release the unnecessary weight, the fear, the overthinking, the endless need to manage every outcome. They encourage you to meet life with openness rather than resistance, with trust rather than tension, with presence rather than fear. As you continue your journey, remember this: you do not have to know exactly where every road leads. You do not have to carry tomorrow on your shoulders. You do not have to force every answer into existence. Your greatest strength is not found in control. It is found in alignment, in learning when to act and when to allow, in knowing when to hold on and when to let go. So take one slow, conscious breath. Trust that not everything needs to happen according to your schedule. Trust that growth is taking place even when you cannot yet see it. Trust that life is capable of carrying you farther than fear ever could. And as you release the need to interfere with every detail, you may discover something extraordinary. More clarity, more peace, more purpose, and a deeper connection to the life that has been waiting for you all along. If this message spoke to you, consider supporting the channel by liking the video and subscribing for more content inspired by timeless wisdom and personal growth. And before you go, leave a comment below. What is one thing in your life that you're ready to stop controlling and start trusting? Your answer might inspire someone else who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay present, stay open, and remember, sometimes the most powerful step forward is simply learning to trust the journey. Life was never meant to be a constant struggle for control. Many of us spend years trying to predict every outcome, avoid every mistake, and manage every detail. Yet the more tightly we hold on, the more exhausted we become. True peace begins when we realize that not everything needs our constant supervision. The wisdom of these teachings is simple but powerful. We are not asked to stop caring about our lives, our goals, or our responsibilities. Instead, we are invited to release the burden of carrying what was never ours to control in the first place. Fear often convinces us that we must have all the answers before moving forward. It tells us that uncertainty is dangerous and that trust is risky. But life has always unfolded one step at a time, and some of the most meaningful experiences arrive when we stop demanding certainty and start embracing possibility. When you let go of unnecessary worry, you create space for clarity. Your mind becomes quieter, your decisions become wiser, and your energy is no longer consumed by imagined problems. Instead of living in the future, you begin experiencing the richness of the present moment. Trust does not mean doing nothing. It means taking action where action is needed and releasing attachment to what happens afterward. It means giving your best effort while allowing life to unfold according to its natural timing. Remember that your greatest strength is not found in controlling every outcome. It is found in your ability to adapt, to stay present, and to move forward even when the path ahead is not completely clear. Real confidence grows from trust, not from certainty. As you continue your journey, carry this lesson with you. You do not need to force life to work in your favor. Often, the greatest opportunities appear when you stop resisting, stop overthinking, and allow yourself to move with the flow of life rather than against it. So take a deep breath today, release one fear, let go of one unnecessary burden, and trust one uncertain step. The peace, clarity, and purpose you have been searching for may not be waiting somewhere in the future. They may be available to you right now, in this very moment.